So, all things considered, this is episode number 24 of How Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, right? And what I'm about to say might be like a little bit harsh, but considering that within 24 episodes of this anime, I haven't had this feeling before, I think what I'm going to say is kind of like pretty light and pretty kind of like docile. But the reality is I feel like this episode, and it kind of pains me because we're nearing, or we're about the end of the season, right? But I really feel like episode 24 was a filler episode. And the reason I feel like that way is I felt like although it did move the needle forward a little bit, it took forever to get there. Like, there was a conversation with the chief of the, I don't want to call it village, but the chief of the refugees, right? And what's weird about this whole refugee stuff, too, is obviously there's refugees from all kinds of different lands, but then you have the chief, who's basically like the main mediator, right? And he is, he had like, there's certain people, and apparently, and this is what this is the only part that I found kind of like really confusing, is you have the chief and his people who are from the land of the north, right? Which is totally cool, which is kind of why they're depicted as kind of like a different race, essentially, right? And you had them, but then the refugees are from everywhere, right? So he's the chief, and I guess he's like the main king lord of this refugee land, right? He's the chief of this village. But the refugees are from everywhere. So, I mean, you have Silver Fox, you have elk people. So you have people of different races within the same village, which is fine. And it's totally normal to have a bunch of different people of different variations in one setting. But I just found it odd because I was like, well, okay, well, did the people of the north, were they not of like one subculture? Was it like, okay, all these different people kind of around? Or did he, because he was chief and the people that he brought to this camp outweighed the other refugees, he's just kind of like the main person of all of them, so he's gonna make a decision for every race that's there that's considered part of this refugee camp looking to him, but not all of them necessarily want to return north because they're not all from his village or town or city or whatever the hell it was before. And I'm thinking that that's probably the case here, considering that we saw this elk lady, fox elk lady kid be born, right? And obviously they look drastically different from the other, from the chief and his sister. Also, the sister, come on. If she's not going to be part of Souma's harem, you know, his concubine, if she's not going to be one of the 9, I would be drastically surprised. But she's for sure 1,000,000% going to be part of that. I feel it deep down on the inside here. I know that little chief girl is going to be part of his concubines, although she didn't show any interest or affection towards him yet. But I feel like that will be to come. All right? So that's kind of like all the good stuff. But from like the filler aspect, I felt like this episode took too long. I felt like the meat of it was just the two things. Was one, the chief agreeing to Souma's plan, the chief returning to the north, right, and giving his sister the rights to be chief over the people. And then the third thing was the C-section being performed, was seemingly seems kind of like the first time successfully. In the variation where, you know, kind of like how it's viewed here, you know, currently. And I feel like those were like the 3 main things that kind of occurred this episode, but I felt like it was just kind of like too long. And overall, I was a little bored this episode. And that's like, and again, like I said at the beginning, like it's the first time I felt this way within 24 episodes. I've never been bored once watching an episode. I felt like every single episode had purpose and had exact, purpose. Had, you know, it moved the needle forward purposefully. This is the first episode that I felt like that still existed, but it was minor in compared to what the major episode was about. And it's fine, like I said, you know, for the episode not to be the best out of every episode. But I just kind of felt like I was like, you know, I could have had a little less of that. I just feel like this was just filler till we get to the next thing. And what sucks, or not, right, is the next episode you would imagine would be these people now migrating over to the coastal land that he has set up for them, and maybe he oversees that. Now, what I'm hoping is that still happens, but that happens in the background. Maybe like they touch on it, and maybe like Hakuya or something comes and gives Souma an update on like, hey, here's the ins and outs of the people moving over. And maybe the girl, like the new chief girl, maybe she's in the castle or visits the castle to talk about kind of next steps for their people and stuff. But it's very minor. Next episode, it's just kind of like a small update on what's happened there. But we don't get focus on that. The next things we get focus on whatever comes next for Souma, dealing with the Empire, dealing with the Demon Lord, dealing with the next big happenings. Which, you know, and I guess there could be an argument too for saying that like, the slave trader episodes and stuff that could be filler as well, but I felt like that was super, like that had a lot of purpose, and I felt like that was really setting up something big into the reformation of the land and kind of how the people are treated. So I felt like that was more purposeful than this one. This one was just kind of like, what the hell are we gonna do with the refugees? Move them over here. All right, cool. Let's go on. You know what I mean? C-sections exist now. You know, I feel like that was really all that kind of happened this episode, but that's all I really had. You know, I don't really have too much. I would say overall, this episode was okay. I wasn't like really enjoying it. I had to pause it like 2 or 3 times, just because like what happens is like I don't know what you do, but like if I'm getting bored on a specific episode or anime or something, I have to take little micro breaks from it, because if I'm not fully engaged, like earlier this morning, right, I watched the new episode of My Dress Up Darling. Go watch our review on the channel. But like that one, like I was like glued to my screen, like nothing else existed, right? I was like, this is awesome. Like it's a master, like it's so effing good. But like with this episode of How Realist Hero Built the Kingdom, like there was like the little bit of the beginning, and then they have like a lot of talking, about what they're gonna do with the refugees. Right there, I paused, I scrolled Twitter a little bit, for a couple minutes. I came back, watched the rest of it. Then they were like, oh, we're going to go perform the C-section. I got bored again. It felt like it took forever to get there. Paused a little bit. Baby was born. All right, cool. Paused a little bit. Went, grabbed my water, came back, finished off the episode, right? So I had to take little micro breaks from this one. And that's kind of what I do when I get bored of an episode. And unfortunately, this just happened to be towards the end of the season, which kind of sucks too. But whatever. Regardless, this episode was very okay. Hopefully next one's really good. Hopefully we get to continue moving the story forward, because this anime is coming to an end. Or not anime, but the season's coming to an end for the anime. So hopefully we get a little bit more action, a little bit more impactful reforms, or something else that happens that's really cool. I'm leaving you guys on those thoughts. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. I appreciate you guys being here for another week of How Realist Hero Built the Kingdom. And my friends, to me, to you, I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.